And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Ryan Metzler.
Hey everybody, it's Ryan Metzler here again, and today we're going to take a look at a little dice game that I picked up at BGG Con 2013 from Z-Man Games, and that game is Blueprints. This is a game about building a building using dice, but each type of material or die that you use will score in a different way. The score of your building is not necessarily how you're going to get the most points though. So real quick, why don't we just take a look at what you get inside of this box, we'll see how the game plays, and then we'll come back here at the end and I'll give you my opinions of it. Here you can see Blueprints set up for a 4-player game. Now, I'm only showing you one of the players at a time, but note that each player will be doing the same thing as this player, trying to build their own building out of dice. What we have here is a score track that will be used for scoring buildings at the end of a round. Now, building scores are not victory points. Building scores determine how victory points are doled out. And the highest score for a building will get first place, which is 3 points, second highest 2, and third highest 1. In addition, each round, these awards down here can be awarded, and they are awarded for different compositions of buildings. If a building has 1 of each die, 1 of each number in its building, you can get 2 extra points. If it has 5 of the same color dice, you can get 2 extra. If it has 4 of the same number, you can get 2 extra. And if it's at least 5 high, you can get 2 extra. Now, each player will also have a little sheet here that tells them how dice score in their individual building. Orange dice will score 2 points for each die adjacent to that die. So if you have 4 adjacent dice to it, it's worth 8 points. Green dice will score based on how many green dice you have in your building. So 2 for only 1, but if you have 6, it's going to be worth 30 points. Black dice will score based on how many or how high that die is in the building. So on the first level, it's worth 2, but as you go up, it becomes 3, 5, and then 8 for each level above that. And clear dice will score based on what number is showing face up on that die. So a 1 will be worth 1, but a 6 will be worth 6. I'm going to set this aside, but know that each player will be building their building behind one of these player sheets. At the start of each of the 3 rounds of the game, players are going to be dealt out a blueprint. So we'll see that blueprints will look like this. Each blueprint is going to have a 2D and a 3D representation of the building that you're building. So you see here there are crosshatch spots. That means dice may not be placed there, period. In addition, you'll see areas with 1s and 2s. This is the level of the building there. So this area will have 1 die, and these areas can have 2 dice. However, you do not have to follow your blueprint if you don't want to. It's just worth extra points towards the score of your building if you do. But by ignoring that, you may be able to score more. You'll also see the 3-dimensional representation here, with the 2 1-level building parts right there and the 2 2-level building parts right there. So each player will have one of these, but different buildings will look differently. We'll see that this one has a level 3 or a 3 high area, and 3 level 1s represented over here. Or you'll see that this one here has 2 2s and 2 1s, but each of these buildings will have 6 dice in them overall. After those cards are dealt out and hidden behind the player's screens, you're going to pull 2 dice from this bag. These are going to be the tiebreaker dice, and you'll place them out one at a time on the tiebreakers. This is in case 2 players' buildings or more have the same score at the end of the round and you can't figure out how to award these. The first tiebreaker will be who has more black dice, and the second will be who has more orange. So you're going to figure out in that way who wins the tiebreaker and gets the higher point score. After this, in a 4-player game, you're going to pull out some more dice from this bag and you're going to roll them. That number is 7 dice. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We pull out 2 more, 6, 7. And we're going to go ahead and arrange these by numerical values. So we have 3 1s, 2 3s, and a pair of 5s. Now, from this point on, you're going to essentially, we have a 4 and a 5, my mistake. From this point on, we're going to essentially be taking 1 die and then adding a new die to the pool for the next player to choose one. When you take a die, you're going to have to immediately place it into your building. Again, these will be hidden behind screens so other players can't see what you're doing. But you're going to take that die and try and figure out how to best score points in your building. So, maybe I decide that I want to pull out this 5 die. Having more greens is good. I'm going to place it on the first level. Now, when you place dice, you have to place according to one specific rule. You must always place a die either on a blank space or on a die that is of equal or lower value than that die. So I can't play a 5 on top of a 6, but I can play a 5 on top of a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So this is a legal placement. After I have chosen that die, I'm going to go ahead and grab a new die from the bag and roll it. And I'm going to add that to the pool. So I have a 3. And the next player would choose a die. Maybe they're going for oranges and they want to have a lot of dice around it, and they have a building that has 4 dice on each side of a central die. So they take this one and they place it on their board. They're going to then take a die out and they're going to roll it. And again, you'll see that the pool will constantly change from turn to turn, and you're going to try and best figure out which dice you want to grab in order to score the most points. Real quick, why don't I build up a building and show you how scoring works. Here we have two examples of buildings built. We have the player that I was showing you before, and then a player who decided to completely ignore their blueprint and score as much as they could in a different way. Now, this player here is going to score each of their dice individually, so we'll take a look at this orange die here. The orange die is adjacent to two dice, one below it and one next to it. That's going to be worth 4, and let's say that's the green player. And we can pull this orange die off. This black die is on the second level, and we'll take a look at our handy-dandy sheet here. We'll see that black die on the second level is worth 3, so it's going to get 3 points for that one. We get 3 more, and we can take that off. Now, they have 3 green dice in their building. Again, we can consult here. 3 green dice is worth 10, so they'll move up 10 more, and we're at 17. And then they have 1 face-up, 1 value clear die, makes it worth 18. In addition, they followed their blueprint, and anytime you follow your blueprint, you're going to get 6 additional points. That brings them up to 24, which is the total value of their building. That is it for that player's scoring. Now, we can take a look at somebody who ignored their blueprint. They are not going to get the bonus points, the 6 bonus points for completing their blueprint, but they do have a lot of points in black dice here. So, when we take a look at this, we'll see that black are worth 8 points on any level of 4 or higher. Well, level 4 or higher is these first 2 dice. That's 16 value right there in the first 2 dice. This level is going to be worth 5, so now they're at 21. We move it up, and they're at 21. This level here is only going to be worth 3, which brings them to 24. We have 1 green die is worth 2, so they're now at 26, and this lowest level black die is worth 2 more, bringing them to 28. So you'll see that by ignoring your blueprint, you can theoretically score more than building on your normal blueprint buildings, because building high is sometimes worth a lot of points. Now, we'll say the other 2 players were lower than these 2 scores, just for convenience sake. We'd go ahead and award all of these different awards. So the most points building is going to go to yellow, who would take this 3.1 here. Second most will go to green, who would get the 2 point. And then third would go to blue, who gets the 1 point. In addition, we can go ahead and we can check out the values or the bonus awards. So nobody got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 run. Nobody, well actually 1 player has 5 dice of 1 color. This player here has 5 black dice, so they would be awarded the 2 points for that, and they also had the best scoring building. This player here has 4 of a kind, 4 ones, so they would be awarded this value. So they were second, and they're going to go ahead and get this. And then our player who also had 5 of the same color had a 5 high building, so they get awarded the last award. And this is the end of the first round. There were no ties, so we never had to resort to our tiebreaker. But this player here, actually, scored 4 points, while 1 player over here managed to score 7. This is the player who ignored their blueprint. So they've scored 7. The player who followed the blueprint scored 5. And another player scored 1 point overall. After this, you're going to clean all of this up, put all of the dice back into the bag, reset all of these scores, and you're going to go ahead and deal out a new blueprint to each player. And you're going to follow the same procedure, building a new set of buildings, scoring all of those buildings, and placing out the awards as they should be given. After 3 rounds, you're going to go ahead and see who has the most points by building up the best scoring buildings and the buildings that have the best combinations of different types, such as colors or height, and whoever manages to score the most points over those 3 rounds will be the winner. And there you have it. That is Blueprints, a game for anywhere between 2 and 4 players. Now, this game, as you may have guessed from all of the dice pulling and dice rolling, is relatively random. But you can have a strategy, and you can try and implement that strategy. You're just going to have to be willing to adapt that strategy through play. Maybe you're planning on getting a lot of black dice and getting them to the top of your building in order to score points. But that doesn't work out. Maybe your setup is really good for orange dice. You can get a die with a lot of different dice on different faces, but dice don't come out that are orange when you need them. Or the dice that come out that are orange are too low of a number for you to play on your board because you've already played on the lower levels. So you have to adapt. Sometimes, because that blueprint doesn't work out for you, it's best to just ignore it and start building a really tall building with black dice. Sometimes, you're going for something, but it turns out that green dice are better, and that's what gets pulled. So you go ahead and take it. It's really about being adaptable. Overall, a little bit random for my tastes, but a game that I do enjoy playing if I need something for a filler, one that I probably won't be keeping in my collection, but I can suggest to players who really like dice play or filler-style games. That's it for this one. If that sounds good to you, check it out. That's Blueprints from Z-Man Games.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.